I am so excited to be here. This is a lifelong dream. I know it sounds corny, but actually, this is a subject that I'm super passionate about, which is you becoming a strategic partner to your hiring manager. There really is nothing more important than hiring, and in my view. And so if we can basically, as a group, become a collective more strategic in the eyes of the people that are our clients, there's really nothing better for ourselves and for our companies. We're going to talk about 3 things today. I thought I'd hit them up front for you so you could have the pull through ahead of time. But the first one is all about making sure you're aligned with your hiring manager, that talent is the #1 priority in your organization. And some hiring managers will tell you, I'm too busy, don't let them get away with it. Talent is what their job is, and they're there to help you, and you're there to help them to be successful in that area. Number 2 is activate your hiring manager in the hiring process. To them, it's a black box, they don't know what they're talking about. You can be strategic to them by making them understand that business so much better. And third, use data. Hiring managers speak data, and if you bring it to the conversation, you can elevate yourself and become a real talent advisor in their eyes.
Okay, so we have a lot of experience in this room, a lot of talented recruiters, so hopefully you'll walk away with a little bit of how we handle difficult conversations with hiring managers, talk about through things around shared accountability. This statistics I've seen for about a year or so around the Corporate Leadership Council saying that only 19% of recruiters are seen as strategic partners. At LinkedIn, that's not an acceptable statistic for us, and I'm sure for your company as well. We don't want to be seen as tactical, we want to be part of the business solutions. So with that, one of the things with the recruiter, as you know, our frustrations with a hiring manager are getting commitment, getting them to spend the time with us that's needed to fill the rec. The hiring managers often have unrealistic expectations regarding time to fill or criteria. Oftentimes they change around the criteria midway or 3 months into the search, and all of a sudden they want, skydiving skills or something like that. So what we're going to show you today is a little bit of how we manage those types of conversations.
Yeah, and I think, if you guys all saw in Wade's presentation this morning, that unreasonable hiring manager, that's me.
That is Brian.
Yeah, so I apologize to all my recruiter friends out there. But there is another perspective here, and that's the perspective of the hiring manager. From their world, it can be very frustrating, because they could be looking at it as a big black box. They don't know what happened to the recruiter. They do an intake meeting and then the recruiter disappears for a week. And where did they go? Or sometimes they're bringing them profiles and it doesn't feel like you're aligned. It feels like you have to keep telling your recruiting partner over and over and over again, why don't we seem to see eye to eye? Why are you showing me people that I would never hire? And so there's 2 sides to this particular story. We thought we would show you something to see if any of you ever had this experience before.
I need you to find me a director of sales.
Can you tell me more about the job?
Well, the director of sales does some directing, and some selling too. Working on a director level to sell things. Got it?
I need you to be much more specific.
I'd like this person to be funny. The last director of sales was very funny. I really like that.
That's not a helpful answer. What about experience?
They should have sales experience, obviously, since sales is in the job title.
So any kind of sales experience is fine?
I think so.
So, my niece, who sells Sally Foster, she's a potential hire.
Can she start tomorrow? I need someone by tomorrow.
That's impossible. It will take at least a month to fill this position.
But the economy is down, which means talented people are desperate. How difficult can it be?
We cannot just pull desperate people off the streets and put them in an office.
Fine, I'll give you 3 days then. Happy?
You're not listening to me.
We do not have much money, so you should be looking for someone that is cheap. But very talented. Maybe someone that works on commission.
This is ridiculous.
And I really need him to be ready for the VP job now.
Why? This is a director position.
Yes, but I really need someone that can hit the ground running. They should also have a PhD. Thanks for your time.
How many of you had that meeting? I have.
All right. So at LinkedIn, we have we are a company that is really founded in our culture and values. One of those values is called taking intelligent risks. So we're going to take an intelligent risk right now, and we figured that you really don't want to see more PowerPoint, and you don't want to see more bullets and talk about different items. We're going to role play a real life situation between a hiring manager and the recruiting partner. So here we go.
Ready? Come on into the cube, Brian. How are you, Brian?
I had a little problem with the door.
Did you? It's, of course, because it's a cube.
Yeah, it's
The
weird.
door
It's weird,
doesn't always
it's
work.
weird to have a cube on a door,
Exactly.
cube. So
Okay. So the reason for this meeting, I want to go over what we talked about for the Director of Sales Operations position that you gave me about 2 weeks ago. And I have a couple concerns I'd like to talk to you about.
okay,
Okay. How do you feel the search is going?
fantastic.
Okay.
I mean, is anything going on?
Well, there's been a lot of work behind the scenes, and I understand from our coordinators that you've missed a couple of phone interviews.
I did, yeah. So I had a really important forecast call that this person was supposed to go to, and it was important, critical I be there. So I'm sorry I had to miss that meeting.
Okay.
So I apologize for that. I won't miss the next one.
Right. Well, when we talked about this role, you had said hiring was your #1 priority, and that you need this person so that you actually don't have to go to these forecast calls. So if it's changed in your priority list, which is fine, I'll take it off as my #1 priority.
No, don't do that.
Okay.
Don't do
Okay,
that. No, please.
And the other
Please
piece
don't
of
do
that, the other piece of that is members come first at LinkedIn, and so the candidate experience of missing a phone interview is something we don't or can't have happen. So it's critical that you keep your commitments when it comes to working on this search and the way we treat our candidates.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I will be there. You are correct. I preach to my team constantly that if you're in sales and you don't fill your recs, you're not going to be able to make your number.
Exactly.
And so there really is nothing more. And it's ironic that this guy was supposed to go to a forecast meeting that I had to attend, and I missed an interview that could have backfilled him. So it's like a chicken or an egg thing kind of thing.
And
I need chickens.
We need the chicken. Okay. What I suggest as well is why don't we put an hour a day on your calendar? How does that sound?
An hour a day?
An hour a day to focus on recruiting. This is a director level position. It's your #1 priority. And this hour will consist of our meeting, phone interviews, networking your own networking, calibrating resumes. It's not going to just be an hour of you and I meeting, as fun as that might be.
Yeah, I do enjoy those.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. How does that
An
sound?
hour's
And
a
I gotta
lot.
put that on your calendar.
An hour's a lot, but if you think that that's what it's going to take to get this thing role filled, I'll do it.
I really
So,
think that it's necessary for this role.
Okay.
So, and again, it's going to cover a wide variety of things that include your interview time.
Okay, great. See ya.
Okay. Well, the other area before you go,
Oh.
I'd like to talk to you about is the criteria that you built for the job. So I'm concerned that we are unable to actually find the right talent. We have something at LinkedIn we call the purple squirrel. And do you know what that is?
Is it a drink?
It is not a drink. It is not a drink. It's something that doesn't exist, actually. It's
Okay,
a squirrel.
makes
I've seen
sense.
an orange squirrel, I've seen a black squirrel, I've never seen a purple squirrel. So when we started this search with the Director of Sales Operations, you had wanted somebody with the title, at least a manager, senior manager level director. They had to work in sales operations.
Yep.
We focused the US as we didn't want to transfer anyone from around the world. You wanted someone in the consumer internet, had to have gone to Harvard, MBA, and I know for that X factor you're looking for a Fulbright scholar. Correct?
Yeah.
Okay. How many
Yeah.
people do you think we came
Did we get
up
the
with?
Navy SEAL?
Oh, and the Navy SEAL was something that
Yeah.
I chuckled and and just nodded.
Okay.
When you asked for that.
Well, it was kind of optional anyways.
It was
but
optional.
yeah,
Okay,
that was,
okay.
okay, got it.
Okay.
All right. So, I
So-
see. Yeah, there's a purple squirrel.
Right, so when we did the initial search, surprisingly enough, we came up with 0.
Really?
Really.
You looked everywhere?
I looked everywhere. You know, at LinkedIn, we have the best data out there. So I pretty much, I did an exhaustive search, brought in a few sources from my team to see if I missed anything, and we came up with 0.
All right. Well, I probably would have gone to LinkedIn anyways to look.
Okay.
So,
Well, so,
if you looked on there already.
okay. So I decided to take a look at your criteria and see where we could, while keeping the bar very high, I don't want to ever lower the standard of which we hire the right fit for you and LinkedIn. However, there were a few things that we could play with.
Okay.
So taking out Fulbright Scholar, our addressable market turned into 122 candidates.
Oh, we're done.
Well, voila, yeah. So still, given that these were across the country, that didn't feel like a strong enough number to me. I know we will reach out to all 122 candidates, but we still wanted to get a little more robust. So given that Harvard was a criteria for you, I decided to change it to just top 10 schools. And in doing that, we got 600 in our addressable market.
It makes, you know, when I heard Harvard, what I meant when I said Harvard was like, you know, Harvard and schools like Harvard.
Okay, so that was
kind of
on
what I was
me.
actually trying to, that's what I meant when I said Harvard.
Okay. So I took everything at face value, so from going forward, I won't. But now we have a market of 600 people that we'll be moving forward with. And
Okay.
this will take a considerable amount of time to go through, and that's why I need your commitment of an hour a day to be calibrating resumes, phone interviewing, referencing, and just
Okay.
actually hopefully closing that offer.
Let's do it.
Okay?
I'm
I have your
psyched.
commitment?
You have my commitment.
Okay, fantastic.
All right.
All
did
right.
Good Fred Kaufman trick. He got my commitment
I
the
got
last
your
minute.
commitment.
So,
Okay.
all right. Act 2. 2 weeks have passed, and Brian has been furiously using LinkedIn Recruiter and different tools we have available at LinkedIn to be able to find candidates.
Come on in, Brian. So at LinkedIn, we move every 6 months, and so I apologize for the boxes there.
It's all right, no worries.
How's it going?
Fantastic.
Yeah?
Yeah, really good.
Okay,
No,
great.
It's a fine.
How do you feel that recruiting has been going?
Well, I've been really active. Thanks for giving me access to LinkedIn Recruiter. I've never seen that tool before, but it's super awesome.
Yeah.
And it's awesome. Since I work at LinkedIn, I guess I get one for free, which is pretty cool.
get one for free.
And I've been in it constantly, and I'm kind of addicted in a way.
Okay, well, I've noticed, and it's awesome that you've been committing to that hour we discussed earlier. I can see you're active in LinkedIn. I can see you're putting in profiles. But I want to talk a little bit about the caliber of the profiles you're putting in. So our first meeting, we went over what the criteria was for your job, and I'm noticing now that you're not necessarily putting the same value on the criteria that I have been.
Okay. What do you mean?
Well, let's take Fred Miller for instance, right? So Fred, I know he had the experience of Salesforce.
Yeah. He looked familiar.
He does look familiar. He does look familiar. But when I look at Fred, I think he doesn't work in technology. He didn't go to a top school. I actually don't know what he has done other than he's proficient in the tool of Salesforce.com.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think I saw Salesforce.com, and I know that Director of Sales Operations, that was one of the things on the list that I think I wanted.
Okay.
Yes, it was.
Okay.
So, I mean, it was a very impressive profile. Was there anyone else?
There's another profile. This is Susie Cream Cheese. And again, she looks like
Right, Susie. Yes.
Susie.
Yes.
So I was unsure of how she made it in. I didn't realize underwater basket weaving was a career that someone could choose.
It's actually very creative kind of thing. But yeah, she's a referral.
She's a referral.
Yeah,
Okay.
Referral.
So what I'd like to talk to you about is how we're weighing the different criteria. So you and I are putting value on the same skill set, so that when I'm looking in the folder, I already know and I have the confidence that we can move forward with the candidates, as well as you know that when I'm sending you somebody, they've been calibrated.
That would be huge.
Okay. So if we talk about defining and targeting what the calibration looks like. You know, you've looked at company, function, skills, experience, culture fit. So I want us to go through and find out from you, what is it that, where you set the exact bar for? Okay.
Well, I have a confession.
Okay.
I have no idea what I'm doing. Okay. Like, I'm in LinkedIn all day, and I'm constantly looking everywhere, and it feels like I'm like surfing the web kind of thing, and like I feel like a golden retriever following tennis balls, like squirrel. You know, they're everywhere, and like I see one person, and I look at another person, and people like this or look like this, and I'm flipping around, and like sales operations consulting, I'm all over the place.
Okay.
And, you know, I know it when I see it, but I don't know actually how to organize my thoughts in a way that is going to do. So I'm actually really glad that we're having this conversation, because I could really use some help, because I feel like I'm wasting my time, and I'm probably wasting your time, because I keep sending you these people who don't really seem like they're a fit, probably, right?
They're not a fit, and
Okay.
I feel, you know, I want that hour a day that you're committing plus the day I'm committing to be worthwhile. And when, you know, when I see it is probably the kiss of death when a recruiter hears that. It's the worst thing we can ever hear. So I'd like us to get specific and really drill down into the criteria.
All right, let's do that.
Talk to me about the 4 top areas of criteria that you want to make sure that we discuss today.
So if I had to group them into 4 categories, I would say the number 1 would probably be skills.
Okay.
You know, unique attributes of that person that I would really care about. Then it would be experience, like what they've done, and probably like a referral value. I really value referrals. And then, you know, that really kind of, there's always something special. I'm looking for someone who's like going to be cool and fun too, and so you know, creative. And so you know, we'll call that sort of like cultural fit, maybe, or X factor, maybe something like that, with the special X factor.
Okay, great. Well, let's go through the calibration step by step.
Okay.
And we could start with skills. So talk to me about which skills are the most important to you.
Well, I think, you know, there's a lot of skills, obviously, that people care about. But if I had to say the number 3, like the 3 big ones that really matter the most, it would be leadership.
Okay.
I'm looking for someone who's an amazing leader, who inspires people, who knows how to recruit. You know, if you can't recruit, you're not working for me. And
which is a little ironic, but
that's actually part of the strategy.
Right.
If you hire people who are better than yourself, you know, you could look like a genius.
Fair enough.
So, I want someone who's really analytical and process and data driven, because you know, we're an operations function, and that's kind of company that LinkedIn is. And then lastly, in sales operations, you work with a lot of different functions. You need to be really collaborative, and you need to be very thoughtful about how you communicate. So I think those are probably like my big 3 things.
Okay, awesome. Let's go to experience. What would you say are the areas of focus for you on experience?
Yeah, that's a good one too. So I think if the 3 areas there is, I'm looking for people who had like a title, which is like similar. Do they work in sales operations or strategy or something like that? But I'm also looking for people who worked in our industry, right, which is maybe HR technology, as well as SaaS industry, you know, SaaS companies. So it's like a company, it's an industry, it's a title thing that basically make it up. But, you know, I'd love it also, management consulting, I think would probably use a really good background for these type of folks.
Great, okay. Now referral. Now referral has different connotations, correct? So talk to me about what a great referral would be.
Got it, okay, this is the Susie cream cheese thing.
Yeah.
So that's not a great referral, but a great referral is one that comes from a really trusted source who knows me, who knows the candidate intimately well, and knows the job, and understands how we'll work together. It's the kind of person, when someone said, you know, when I trust someone so much that they say, hire this person or you're a complete idiot, and I do it anyways, even though they have no connection to the actual things I'm looking for, that's an amazing referral.
Okay. Okay, great. And the last thing is culture X factor. Now we interview for that throughout the process, especially, you know, tying them to LinkedIn's culture and values. But what on a profile would we see that would, you know, something extraordinary? Like a Fulbright scholar might be that X factor, but what else would be something that we should be on the lookout for?
Yeah, I'm always looking for people from diverse backgrounds, people who can bring different experiences to our business, people who are multicultural, speak different languages are interesting.
Okay.
I love hiring people who've been in the Peace Corps and have these type of things. I mean, LinkedIn is a company where we really believe in giving back, and so that's a really important thing. Also, I want you to be happy to be here, right? So if you don't value the opportunity of being at this company, I think it's a great company. You know, I don't think it's. I would look at someone's LinkedIn profile and say, how complete is it? If it was like really empty, I would probably. They probably don't appreciate the opportunity. So.
Okay.
Maybe not
Great.
the best fit.
I mean, that's very helpful for me, so I can weigh how filled out a profile is, or any sort of, hey, they have some extraordinary skills.
Great.
You know, they did Teach for America for 2 years, and then, so they have leadership, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I agree.
Okay, so now that we've defined that, let's go back and talk about the candidates that you sent to me. So I just want to show you in real time how I would view them based on this conversation if I were to see the profiles.
Great.
So I think we covered Susie Cream Cheese.
Yeah.
She was a referral.
Yeah. So this was, so my mother-in-law's bridge partner's boyfriend's ex-girlfriend.
Yeah.
She met her in a bar, and she was looking for a job.
see.
She was looking for a job. So,
Okay.
and
Okay.
she said she had a great tattoo, and so.
So with referrals like that, we of course still want to make sure there's a great candidate experience. So I suggest you reaching out to her since she came to you directly, thanking her for her interest, and letting her know if anything in underwater basket weaving, we go into a new market, she will be the first person we call.
Thank you for holding me accountable for that hard and painful task.
It's not fun. But obviously she does not meet our calibration bar for employee referrals.
Okay.
Now if we go back to Fred Miller, again, he had some of the experience we talked to, but again, how would you rate him based on the criteria?
Yeah, this is actually a good one. So like, let me think about this. So like, if like we'd had the skills, experience, referral, and in culture, on the skills front, you're probably right. He doesn't really have any of the skills I was really looking for. I was attracted to him because I saw Salesforce.com, but I realized that what he probably doesn't have the right skills. So maybe if I was like scoring him on a scale of 1 to 10, you know, if a 10 is perfect, he'd probably be more like a 2, probably like that in terms of skills. In terms of experience, you know, if the perfect score was someone who had management consulting and worked in SaaS, he doesn't really have those backgrounds either, so he's probably a 2 there, or 0?
0.
Okay. That's called calibration, yeah, okay, that's good. And then in referral, he's probably a 0, 2, because he doesn't really, I didn't get any, you know, we don't have common connections, and I don't really know him or know anyone of him who knows him. And then on X Factor, I was digging the hair. It's kind of, you know.
He also looks very tall.
Yeah, that's,
which I think we can use some.
I'm going to say 5, just because, you know, I feel bad about it. I don't really know him that well. I need to actually meet him to make that determination, I think.
Whether he's a 5 or not. Okay. So then going back to how we calibrated, are we looking at each of these skills, experience, referral, and cultural fit as the same weighting? Is there anything that for you would mean more than something else, so that I know, or it's 100% across the board, and where are we willing to, if we hit 80%, it's a higher?
That's a great question. So like, yeah, if you can hit 80% on all of these 4 categories, to me that's an automatic hire.
Okay.
I mean, we should, if we can agree that someone is 80% on these categories, that's, or higher, that should be best. I would probably say I also would maybe overweight the referral. If I was to sort of say one, if I was like, if you had someone who's a really, really strong referral, that would probably be more valuable to me, because it just gives me more confidence that the person I'll hire is probably going to be better.
So out of these 4, referrals might be a little bit higher. They still have to have most of the experience, but we're willing to leverage less maybe on company or education because it was a high referral, where a lower referral, everything else has to raise back up? Yeah,
ideally all 8s, but like, you know, there's probably multiple or, you know, different types of people that would fit into these classifications that could have different sort of like target levels that we want to go after.
So I have your commitment. If we get 8s across the board, we are going to fill this job.
Yes.
And I won't give you a deadline, but
yes, I mean, what I would say is that now that we've done this is actually really opening my eyes, and I understand what you're teaching me. What you're saying is that I shouldn't be sending you over people who don't have these minimum scores.
Correct.
And likewise, vice versa. And if we're sending people over who we think are different, then we need to probably recalibrate and sort of agree that what does an 8 look like and what does a
Right.
2 or 0 look like.
Right.
Okay.
So going forward, this should go much quicker. We're going to be talking about candidates with the same lens and the same values.
Okay.
Okay.
Great.
All right.
I'm in. You got me.
Awesome. We're
I
in.
commit.
We made a hire. We're going to make a hire.
All right.
Anyway,
All right, we're wrapping it up. All right. Thank you. Thank you. So the final pull-throughs on this concept, because we try to have fun with this, but it is an important thing, and we know all of you are having these conversations with your hiring managers all the time, and we want you to elevate yourself and become a strategic partner to those hiring managers. There's 3 things that you need to remember. Number 1 is, as I said before, don't let your hiring managers off the hook. Don't let them tell you that they're too busy because they got to go to a meeting or they got to do something else. There is nothing more important than hiring top talent. If there is, they probably shouldn't be in leadership. They should not be in leadership. And hold them to that. Ask them, what are you doing that's more important than going out there and hiring amazing people for your team? What are you doing? Yeah. What is it? If you hire great people, it transforms not just your company, but it transforms you as a professional. Because let's face it, I'm not that great, but I hire a bunch of great people, and they make me look great. And so this is truly the most strategic thing that a hiring manager can do, and you hold the keys to that. You are uniquely positioned to help them do the most important thing that they do.
Right. In data, we want to have a truly mutual accountable relationship. So it's not 50-50, it's 100% all in. Going to the meetings with data helps explain the challenges, it gives context, it covers every question that can come up. You're there armed with the data. When I joined LinkedIn and saw the data I could have been providing to hiring managers in my past, people that work with me will laugh, I was mad for about 3 days because I didn't realize the difference in the conversations I could have had with the data of what's the addressable market look like, how many people really do exist, instead of going, we're working so hard on it, to say, hey, there's 0 or there's 7. You saw this morning, there were 7 people. That was a real search that we had done. And it just changes the dynamic in the conversation immediately. So to drive mutual accountability and to become a strategic partner, having the data takes you miles away from the tactical recruiting model.
Before I came to LinkedIn, I used to hire a lot of people, and I would always go on to LinkedIn and constantly send profiles to my recruiters. And I'm sure I was incredibly irritating because it was like, why is this person? And I was sending over random things. It wasn't until I actually came to LinkedIn and I learned something about sourcing and a process for thinking about how to actually control myself that I realized that how important recruiting was, as well as that there was actually a whole process here. It was actually a thoughtful, something that you had to do. Your hiring managers have no idea what you do. To them, it's just a black box, but it's so important to their success. You can elevate yourself by opening up your world to them. They're all over LinkedIn. Whether you like it or not, your hiring managers are all over LinkedIn. They are sending you profiles every day. By the way, raise your hand. How many people have a hiring manager send them a profile?
Wow, that's...
It's like everyone, right? And so if you haven't, amazing. So they're all over LinkedIn, they're using it today. Rather than have them waste their time and have them waste your time with sending you people who don't fit, teach them how to do it the right way. Open up the process to them. Show them what's actually happening on the other side. They'll be so grateful. I can tell you right now as a hiring manager, nothing more grateful than my recruiting partners showed me for the first times how it actually worked for sourcing. It was like an epiphany, an eye-opening moment. And so, once again, you hold the keys to the most important thing in the entire company. You're right there. It's your opportunity to grab. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have some time for some questions. We'd love to have, we have a few minutes for questions. We'd love to have any of you guys, want to have any questions about LinkedIn, recruiting, internal. Just there's some microphones right here on the side that just, walk right up. We'd love to have you.
Hi. When you're setting the vision or vision locking, as you guys put it, What are 3 key points that you'd recommend when setting that vision?
From the recruiting standpoint or the hiring manager standpoint?
To help them understand that nothing is more important than focusing on hiring.
Sure, I'll be happy to do that like that. So first of all, I would ask them the question, what are you doing that's more important than recruiting? Or you could phrase it in another word like, what's your top priority? Now, if they say, well, my top priority is building product, or my top priority is hitting my target, or my top priority is, whatever it is, right? Running this analysis, this financial structure. You should ask them, you need to delve in. This is where like salespeople, when we're salespeople, we don't just tell people what to think. We try to ask them questions so that they actually come out with the answer. What you're trying to get to is that question of like, if you don't hire these people, how are you ever going to be able to actually achieve your goals? Essentially come through.
And finding that priority, like he said, for them, and sharing with them where you'll place it as your priority also helps. And setting up that cadence of meeting and working together so that, I found I could be working 40 hours a week on a position, and if I'm not communicating that to the hiring manager, they, like Brian says, thinks it's a black hole. And I've had many a meeting, and then they see what I've been doing, and it's like, oh, wow. It just changes the conversation. But so getting in front of that helps. But really having them give the time commitment back to you shows you where it is on their priority list.
Yeah. The other thing I mentioned is this is not just my opinion. This is the opinion of a lot of leaders, right? Whether it be Jack Welch or Jim Collins. I mean, these are all like, you'd have a hard time finding a CEO from a great company who said that talent is not the most important thing in their business. And I can tell you at LinkedIn, the number one priority we have in our whole company, it's not product, it's not customers, it's not revenue, talent. Number one, top of all that other stuff. Those are all important things, right? None of them are more important than hiring great people for this company. That's our number one priority.
Right.
Hi, I'm Renee from Yale New Haven Hospital. We have some unique concerns that I think were not necessarily addressed, so I have a couple of questions.
Great.
Not only are our hiring managers not on LinkedIn Recruiter, in many cases they're resistant to actually spend the time building their own profiles, which would obviously make my job easier from a networking perspective. Mm-hmm. So to your point about the what are they doing instead of hiring, well, they're saving lives, delivering babies, all that good stuff. Right. So from a mission standpoint,
really?
I know, it's crazy, right?
Come on.
I know, curing cancer,
what's
all
more
that
important
good stuff.
or whatever.
I know. So I do obviously try to impart my enthusiasm to the, I can't believe it, but we actually found an International Board of Certified Lactation Consultants group on LinkedIn, and
Great.
And similarly in other networks and things of that nature. So how do I, short of like bringing them to my computer and saying, here, just put in some basics so at least you can then connect with your network and I can connect with you. How do I advocate and champion it to those who have not yet seen the success?
So let me see, how many lives, hold on one second. How many lives did that doctor save last year?
Well, these are not doctors, so in most cases they're nurse managers, director level.
How many people did they treat last year? Let's just say roughly one person.
Oh goodness.
Give me a rough guess.
Hundreds?
Hundreds. 200? 1,000?
Yeah,
Say 1,000
sure.
people.
Big hospital.
How many people were not treated because they couldn't hire someone?
Excellent point. And missed opportunities to provide services and a variety of
this is like, we call it foundational, right? If you're gonna run a business which is based on people, it's really hard to scale that business, to basically be able to deliver value, to save lives, to help people without actually having a foundational structure. It's like saying, let's go into business, but let's not have an office or a computer. It's really hard. You need sort of these foundational things, and the most important thing, the thing that changes the entire game is humans. Human capital is it. And for those of you who have sort of had this epiphany and realized that talent is the most important thing in the business, it's easy to project. But I guarantee you can there probably are a few exceptions where like you really can't get there, but if you believe that rocks are the most important thing in your business, not people, then maybe it's not people. But I think that for most of us in this room, we believe that people are the most important thing, and our senior leadership, our clients believe that too. We just have to get them there. and have that conversation.
Yeah, and I would add, even when you, first of all, I was born at Yale, New Haven, so when you are meeting with, you still need to have those hiring meetings and use that time. Like, we're gonna work on your profile today. We're not gonna talk about candidates. I already know we've already calibrated. I'm on the same page, we've had some success. Let's spend the next half hour, 45 minutes to an hour really working on your profile, because it is very true. I'm gonna look at someone, my future leader's profile, to see if I wanna work for them. So
sure.
it's attracting as well. So I would just use that time a little differently.
Bring my iPad to their office, log them in.
And just do it. Do it, bring a camera.
Yeah.
You know, we take
awesome.
pictures. We did it in a conference room one day, and the team just took some photos, and everybody got a better photo that week, so.
That's awesome. Thank you both.
You're welcome.
You bet.
Any other,
Hi, just
Hi.
a quick question. When you were talking about in your scenario that you were handing over profiles, were you in LinkedIn Computer?
LinkedIn Recruiter?
Recruiter, excuse me?
Yeah, so at LinkedIn, we're probably the only company in the world where we have, 500 seats of LinkedIn Recruiter, which we've provisioned to managers.
Right.
And
That's
it's unusual, right?
Yeah.
It's unusual, but it has revealed a bunch of things. It's changed our culture because we have our hiring managers so closely partner with our recruiters. Right? It's like we've all had an epiphany. We all realize how important this is now, and we can all partner with our recruiting community to make sure that it's more successful
So do
together.
you recommend that?
So let me just from a recruiting perspective. When I joined, that was a little like, really?
Fair.
We put some parameters in that partnership. So because we have so many people in recruiting looking at the talent pools, we certainly don't want managers reaching out. And my favorite line is, what part of your job would you like me to do? However, there is a lot of value in it. So helping them network through who they already know and providing us with profiles is a great way to start off a search. The managers are not in recruiting, and then what we do, one of my teams now, we have a 24-hour turnaround where we find out, we might have interviewed them 3 times and they've been rejected, or hey, they're great, thank you for reminding us about them. So they're not doing reaching out and mailing unless we've discussed it. The other part that's been freeing is Brian might have a better relationship or network to reach out to you directly instead of getting an email from a recruiter. So I would rather leverage his ability to use the tool and reach out directly. Because when you hear from the VP of Sales Operations that you want, I think you look great and come talk to me, the hit response rate is going to go up quite high, as opposed to a recruiter sending a personalized in-mail, but still an in-mail that is pretty much cold. So we try not to do that as often as possible.
I think it's a great question because I don't think all hiring managers are ready, right?
Yeah.
This would not be something I'd say like, go out there and give it all your heart. You're probably going to have a lot of people who are like, what am I doing? And isn't this your job? Right?
You have to manage that pretty closely.
So you're probably not going to have that thing, but there are some hiring managers, and you guys all probably know the ones who are like, they're so with you, they so get it, they're dying for this tool, they would love it. For them, figure out a way to make it happen. I know there's a lot of compliance issues and things that they have to work around that area, and so that's one of the challenges that we make sure that we comply with at LinkedIn. But once you can get past those type of things, when you have your hiring manager sourcing for you, it's awesome. It's awesome because they know what they want. If you direct them in the right way, they're great at doing responses. They can basically sell the position or really figure out who's a great fit for themselves. And so it's a great way of finding great talent.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other?
Oh yeah.
Hi, my name is Nancy. I work for CompuCom. I do a lot of sales recruiting, and my hiring managers are reticent to go on and look at profiles because they're concerned that those people will see that they've been looking at them. And I need some help in messaging back to them like, well, it's okay, or, what would you suggest if they don't want certain people to know that they've been looking at their profile?
I think you can turn that feature off.
You could turn it off so they become anonymous. But I would say as a recruiter, having that on, people will respond back to me that I've looked at their profile. Now that's a 50-50. Sometimes there's somebody I passed immediately, but it might be someone that I haven't reached out to yet, or I put in a file folder and then they send me a note, or I see them looking back. Now they're engaged, right? Now they've at least looked back into us. So if I send an in-mail, I know they know who I am. So I would explain it in both ways, but they can absolutely shut that function off.
Yeah, a lot of people in sales are concerned that people are going to connect with them and get into their networks to get to their customers, right? And so, and that it could happen, right? It depends upon the privacy settings and who you connect with, and how essentially that works, and whether, what sort of activity you want to have on LinkedIn and expose to the folks out there. I personally leave mine open for everyone to see because I don't want to be anonymous, all right? And if I'm looking at someone's profile, they could look at it as I'm trying to get into their network, or they could look at it as I'm interested in hiring them. And so, I think that cuts both ways. But I think that the real concern is not so much about who viewed your profile. The real concern is about viewing your activity and viewing your network, and that can be very controlled with inside the privacy settings. Good question.
My name is Melissa Simon. I work for Educators for Excellence, and I actually did Teach for America, so thanks for the shout out.
Awesome.
And I taught.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I taught in South Central Los Angeles and then worked at TFA for a number of years.
Oh, great.
So I am a team of one, and we're a startup, growing educational nonprofit. When I started on our team, we had less than 20. Now I've gotten us up to over 50 full-time employees,
Wow.
with a goal of having 80 by the end of this year. So I'm the only person in Recruiter. That's all the money we have. And I would love to know some thoughts on best tips and tricks when not only do you really need to leverage everyone for recruitment, but you need to ensure that truly hiring managers beyond partners are sourcers too, and help them to tap into their networks.
Right. So I can speak a little bit to, so I did a lot of startup work before I joined LinkedIn, so hats off to you. You're everything on that team, so I know how difficult it can be. It's, you hit it when saying they have to become your partners, and it's teaching them, like we said, here's the criteria, here's what you're looking for, who in your network, and holding them accountable. So whether it's your weekly meeting or how often they're engaged in recruiting, turning it around to make sure they're recruiting in that lane, that today we're gonna look through your network, and you can also see their network because you're connected, and maybe give them a kickstart into, I saw 5 people that would be great that we should be reaching out to, who else do you know, and get them thinking like that. But that 100%, I use that a lot. I've had great hiring managers in the past who are like, I own hiring more than my recruiter does. And we're in this profession. I'm very passionate about it. I've never done anything else. Hiring is I feel just as accountable, but when your hiring manager is like, I own this, I own the decision, I own whether it's a success or failure, then you have that partnership. So driving them to understand how important that is, and that's about just becoming a strategic partner. You'll get them there, but I'm assuming right now everyone's doing everything.
Yeah,
and
it's a little bit hard when I'm running, 30 searches, and I can't give everything to it because I'm doing HR.
I would get them to start prioritizing and just saying, what should I be focusing on for the next 2 weeks, and let's all be all hands on that set of searches, because when it's too broad, you're all over the map, and it does not make a good experience for anybody, and you'll probably hit less of your target with such a wide number of open searches instead of taking it bite by bite.
Yeah, we use that calibration exercise on my team, and it actually saves a lot of time, because once you get to the point where you both agree what you're looking for and the types of personas that match up to what you're looking for, it's really just a question of like, are they at those numbers or are they not, right? If they're not, let's move on. If they are, then let's figure out how we reach out to that person and validate through an interview whether they actually really are an 8 or a 7 or whatever. And so teaching that to your hiring managers, or teaching something like that, whatever you use from an intake and calibration perspective, is a really powerful thing, because they could really use it.
Great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, well, I just want to say thank you so much again for coming, and enjoy the rest of the conference.